Bismillah, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the call.
Thank you, sir. How are you today?
Say it
Can you
again.
hear me okay? Hello.
Say it again, sister.
I said, how are you today?
Oh, alhamdulillah, feeling good like Allah always should.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes,
I'm kind of new here. So
Okay.
this is like my second call, I think. I've only been in the order for about 2 weeks, maybe a week actually. A lot sooner, probably than I think. So I'm just excited to be here.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. We're excited to have you. And Sheikh Idris is a wonderful teacher, scholar. His presentations are impeccable. And
Yes.
by Allah's grace, he asked me to open up for him tonight. So we're going to give a few minutes for people to join the call with us.
All right, cool.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Sharif. Welcome to the call. Were you saying something else, sister?
No, sir. I'm good.
Okay. Can you all, is my background, I'm supposedly have noise cancellation. Can you all hear my background?
No, sir. I don't hear anything.
Okay, good. Oh, okay. So it's actually giving me what I'm paying for. Alhamdulillah. Okay. All right. So we'll just give a few minutes, not too many minutes, but we'll give a few minutes. So the man of the hour is with us. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. We're going to give just a few more minutes. You know, I like to start at a particular minute on the hour. And according to that time, it's 3 minutes left. At that time, who's ever on the call, we will begin.
Wa alaikum salam. Appreciate you, Sheikh Farad.
Say it again, Sheikh.
I said, wa alaikum salam. I appreciate you.
Alhamdulillah. How you doing? Are you feeling good like Allah always should?
I mean. I can't feel no other way.
Good. Otherwise, you'd be being other than yourself.
We can't do that. We cannot do that.
Absolutely. Not nowadays.
I mean.
Yes. What I was gonna suggest, Sheikh, is because these are recording. I know that Sheikh Mustafa does the editing, but probably because we're waiting like this, I think you have the record button. I don't know if there's in the future maybe we want to hit record at that moment when we're about to start because it's recording everything.
Yes, it's recording everything, so it'll be fine.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right, we got exactly 2 more minutes. Exactly 1 more minute. So just like a sound check, mic 1 2 1 2. Can everybody hear me clearly from the distance where I am from my phone?
I can hear you well.
I mean, my mic sounds nice. Checks 1.
My mic sounds nice. Check 2.
I mean. Okay, so let's see where we at. We got less than 1 minute left.
They're gonna put another note in the chat.
All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim shall begin. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're going to open up with prayer, with the Astaghfirullah bihi and some other openers. Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa taqabbal minni wa chikal karimi kalita ibani lika bi astaghfirullah bihi. Astaghfirullah lazim wa atu alayhi min zawahidi wa min guyub Astaghfirullah lazim wa atub alayhi niza wa hadi wa min guyu. Salatuhu the haki wa tulahi makfirata min jumlatil manahi. Tutulahu min jumlata sigairi. Mahal kabairi wa min damairi. Kafiru likfir kulimata karama wa ma takara wa ma bainahuma. فإمني علم وازدني يوما وهملا وبرا وفما ربي اكشف الهلما نافيها وتعالياتي من شاكا إيمانها اكشف لي أسعر وغوميرا كيرمان كشافا سران غاميرا ليش ما جميعها ما تفارق لدا تيمنا كيري واسفي لدا لكل دا تفاكر لزميا وربي بكم وتاسي من كلميا حبلي يا كرامو فتيلوا كيران كسران مكا وهلوا بارك لي اللهم في ياتي وتعفو أدي واتناوياتي Abdi Akani Bishra Kuliman Yatu Waliza wa Ahira Bim Al-Buyun Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wa rahmatullahi ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. The four Kuns. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad. لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا احد قل هو الله احد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا احد قل هو الله احد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا احد قل هو الله احد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا احد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل اعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق اذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد اذا حسد قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس صلاة الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم يا كرام صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم اللهم صل وسلم على مفجر القلوب مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. I will do the dua of Ibrahim. Surely I'll turn myself being upright to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I'm no longer of the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and of this I am commanded, I am indeed of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the king, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I've been greatly unjust to myself, and I do confess my faults. So please grant me protection against my faults, for none can grant protection against my faults but thou. And guide me to the best of morals, for none can guide me to the best of morals but thou. And turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals but thou. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and make we, the true followers of Muhammad, successful. As thou didst make Abraham successful and the true followers of Abraham, for surely thou art praised and magnified in our midst. And O Allah, bless Muhammad, and bless we, the true followers of Muhammad, as thou didst bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham, for surely thou art praised and magnified in our midst. Ameen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the Revealer of all truth, the Sender of all prophets. Allah, the Originator, the Self-Created One. We thank Him for all of His manifestations throughout the ages, throughout the line of divine, And we thank him for all of the prophets and messengers and sages and wise ones sent into the world. And we understand that the summation of all of them are in our Sayyidina, our Master Muhammad. And with those communities of prophets and sages, there are always those masters who study the teachings of the sages and the wise ones. And we understand that our Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, is the summation of all of the walis, all of the kutubs, all of the saints, the sages, the wise ones, because he summarized all of that science inside of his qasids and teachings. We thank Allah, we thank Sayyidina Muhammad, we thank Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba for one that has traveled in our midst and spent the majority of his life going to get this science of Qadimu Rasul to bring it back to us in the wilderness of North America. I speak of our Sheikh, Sheikh Sufi Ba, and in their names, I greet you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. I pray that all is well with everyone and that you are all feeling good like Allah always should. By Allah's grace, I am Sheikh Fawad Wali, and my beloved brother, friend, assistant, Sheikh to the Fordania, Murid Order, asked me to open for him tonight. It is always a pleasure to do such because Sheikh Idris is the kind of teacher that has you on the edge of your seats with a calculator, a pen, and a pencil, because he's going to always give you the mathematical equations and a mathematical explanation of things. The Insan Kamil, who taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Farah Muhammad, once said, Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. Well, if I had to picture a face when I hear that phrase, the face that would come into mind is the smiling face of our beloved Sheikh Idris Ba. So my beloved asked me to open tonight. I want to just say a few words, just to take a minute, literally, because I ponder over, as I'm spending time with the qasids and spending time with the practices that our beloved Sheikh gave us. And on Fridays, by Allah's grace, I have a practice where I spend a day with a salawat. So I take a salawat and I spend time with that salawat that day. And as you begin to do this, it really shows you something that I would like to talk about in my opening, which is the mathematical perfection of the prayer service in Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Islam has the perfect prayer service. And there's no other service that's more perfect than the prayer service of Islam. There's a reason that he's saying that. He's not saying that just as a Muslim that is bigging up, so to speak, his religion or his way. He's not saying that from a Muslim bias standpoint. He's saying it because everything that is in our prayers, the postures, the words that we say, when we say the words at particular postures, all of these things were mathematically designed to put our minds, our mouths, our bodies, all the way down to the very cells of our body into the state of La ilaha illallah, into the state of Bismillah, into the state of oneness as we are praying. And so I just want to illustrate this. I don't know if you all have paid attention to your prayer postures. As the Holy Quran tells us, observe your prayers. You're supposed to observe the prayers. Observe means to analyze, to look at, to study, to piece apart. So when you look at the prayer service in Islam, astaghfirullah, you're looking at the body making a statement. Because when we do the standing positions, when we do the ruku positions, when we bend over, when we do the sajda position, when we prostrate, these actually formulate Arabic letters. Literally, in the prayer, you are making statements with your body. If you couldn't talk, let's just say if you were a person that was mute, right, and you couldn't speak, you literally could still say the prayer with your body. And because we understand the science of how the brain works in this new age of information, where they have actually hooked receptors to the brain of people and studied the responses of particular colors, the responses of particular words. And then we have giants among us, like the scientist Professor Emoto, or Dr. Emoto, in his book, The Messages Hidden in the Water, where he talked about when you put particular phrases on a bottle of water, frequencies or shapes, what we would call in the ancient world sacred geometry, shows up, meaning mathematical configurations show up according to words. So if your body is primarily water, we're surrounded in water in the atmosphere. When you make these particular postures, there's configurations that go off. There's geometric shapes that form, frequencies that form in the brain that say the thing that you're saying with your body. Islam is the only place where the prayer service does this. Because we can zikr when we're standing, when we're walking, sitting, lying, as the Holy Quran says, but when we do our prayer position, literally you are in complete submission in that act, because the mouth is saying the words, la ilaha illallah, you're saying al-Fatiha, you're saying prayers on Muhammad, but your body is doing it too, which forces your mind to do it, especially if it's done in the Arabic language, which is the most mathematical of language. So this is something we really, really need to ponder, when we may have mistaken the prayer postures as just aerobics, like spiritual aerobics. I know once upon a time I did. I thought that because I would go to masjids and see where the Muslims would be very fast in their movement, and it seemed to be not very much contemplation that went along with the movements. But as I began to study the mathematics of Islam, what we call tasawwuf, or in Sufism, this is where I began to learn that when you're standing, that is the letter Aleph, the first letter of the Arabic alphabet. You're literally making the letter Aleph when you're standing, right? When you bend in particular positions, these are the different letters: Aleph, Lam, Ha, Mim. You're making these letters when you're doing the prayers. So even if, now you think about it, in our prayer service, there's certain prayers we don't verbalize the prayer. In Zohar, we silently say the prayer. So you're still making the movements with your body and you're mentally saying it. But still, even in that, the fact that the mind, the body, the words force a level of submission, which go back to my original thesis, quoted from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that Islam has the perfect prayer service. Why? Because Islam is mathematics, mathematics is Islam. And we can prove it at no limited time. We can prove it at no limited time just in the prayer service. Because when you do wudu, when you do the prayer, you feel differently coming out of this. It is impossible, even the most unfocused person in the world, you go to a masjid, you get around some Muslims and you do the Muslim prayer, you're going to be different afterwards. It literally invokes, it manifests the attribute Jabbar, El-Jabbar, the compeller. It compels a particular impact upon the being of the person. So the more we do these prayers, the better we become. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the more you practice Islam, the more you will want to practice Islam. He said, why? Because you are a Muslim yourself. You're practicing your natural nature, your nature, your natural way. And the more you begin to do the prayer, the more it will purify you, which means you will want to pray more, which means it will purify you more, which means you will want to pray more. And little by little by little, you're attaining oneness with Allah. You're attaining the first letter that you make, which is Aleph, the one. Notice the letter I is also the number one, right? The ninth letter of the English alphabet is the number one, because the 9 is the letter of completion, the number of completion. So the whole point of this journey, the whole point of this inner jihad, check out what the Bamba teaches us. This is the greater jihad in this day, is the inner jihad. The real pilgrimage is back towards self. Once you complete that stage, that journey, you're literally saying Aleph, one, right? You're surrendering the social veneer. That's what this part is. Allahu Akbar. You're saying the Allah aspect of me is greater than the world. Muslims mistranslate that to say Allah means Allah is the greatest. It means that too, but what it really means is whatever you think is great, Allah is greater than that. Think of the greatest thing you can think of, Allah is greater than that. That's what you mean when you say Allahu Akbar. So when you go through this journey, this inner jihad, this inner Hajj, and you use the mathematical science of Islam to get there. At the end, which is nothing really a new beginning, you will say Allah. Allah is greater. But you won't just be saying it with your lip, professing it. You will bear witness. You will be, Shahada is from Shahid. You will witness the fact of Alif Lam Mim Ha, that I, Allah, you will witness your Allah self, if that makes sense. So I pray by Allah's grace. Thank you, Sheikh Idris. You did something, because I don't know where that came from. I had no intention of going that far with that. So
let it flow, let it flow.
So thank you for a few moments. I pray that you all got something out of that. I've only laid a little bit of a piece of the basement floor, and the Moundbuilder, which indeed he is going to come and build the rest of the house for us. Thank you once again. Sheikh Farad Wali signing off and presenting to you our beloved Sheikh Idris Ba. Assalamu alaikum.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi wa huwa aliyul azim. Assalamu alaikum, family. And give thanks to Brother Cheikh Farad for bringing us that supreme mathematics at just the right time, so that we can utilize that for our betterment. So many jewels in those short, brief words that he brought tonight. That is a study that we can be looking at for days and weeks and months to come, at least. Thankful for him, and thankful for his opening and for his spirit, and thankful for his products. Dr. Detox, as he's called as an alter ego, has tremendous healing products for our body. And if we're going to be healed, and if we're going to seek healing remedies, why not seek out the people that are right around us, walking among us, and infusing those products with the energy and the vibration of the divine that we walk in. So certainly look up Dr. Detox, Sheikh Farad, and his products. And once you try them, I'm sure you will attest to the power and the potency of what he brings with his products. We definitely want to give umbrage and shout outs and salutes and barakas to our Sheikh Sufi Ba, who is in the DC area. And do we have anybody that's here tonight that's actually in DC? I know it's a lot of different events going on there, and I certainly wish that I could be there and be a part of these events. And a shout out, of course, to Sister Sheikha Ayeshe and the work that she's doing to bring this event to a full success and make sure that everyone is getting in and getting settled and being prepared and readied for the message that is to come, and then the work that we are to do after that message from our Sheikh Sufi Ba. So giving thanks for all of that, and for all of you who are here tonight, certainly for the sheikhs in our order, and certainly Dedajef Serene Tuba, and salutes to all of the lineage that come in this word line. And for all of our families and all of us who are moving forward in this time. Sheikh Sufi Ba last week did a fantastic and phenomenal job in giving to us a remedy for a lot of what's taking place right now on our planet, taking place within our physical vessels. And with the chants and the thickers and the regiment that he gave us for both morning and evening, if we're utilizing that, and I'm sure that many of us are, we're definitely beginning to see results beginning to happen, because they must happen when we chant and when we put into effect these divine words, they actually create and they actually manifest. With that said, that brings us to our topic this evening, which is Allah in manifestation. I said that wrong. It's actually Allah in Wo-Manifistation. And as we go along this evening, you'll see that there's a very significant reason for that. Allah in Wo-Manifistation. We began by saying, as Sufis, one of the most important teachings in Sufism is the concept of God in man and woman. God manifests through flesh as man and woman in their true form. This is a foundational understanding of Sufism that separates it from a lot of the religiosity that many of us find ourselves in. Islam, like everything else, is revealed in stages. The stage of understanding and knowing and moving in the concept of Allah, a God in man and woman, is a completely different stage, but it's a stage that highlights the path and the deen that we find ourselves walking on. This is a very important thing to understand, because when we understand the Allah in manifestation, we began to understand that everything that comes forth from us in the world that we are living in is as a result of what we have created and what we have done with that Allah force that is within us. So with that, we're going to begin to talk about some creations. And of course, when we talk about creation and we talk about Allah, we're talking about the attribute of Al-Khaliq, which is the one who creates and the one who brings things into existence. And we're also talking about Al-Zahir, which is the manifest, the evident. These are creation and manifestation attributes of the one true source that exists in all of us, that is all of us. And I make that distinction because many times people tell us when we study religion and we study different exegesis, as they say, or descriptions or understandings of scripture, they tell us that it is the ego for us to say that man is God. And in one sense, they are correct. Because when you're saying I am God out of ego, meaning that there is nothing else but me and I am God, and everything else that is around me should be worshiping me, and all the prayers and all of the rituals and all of the service should be coming to me, yes, that is ego. But when you go to a higher level, again, Islam is revealed in stages, you understand that it's actually ego and it's actually shirk to say anything other than Allah is man, Allah is woman. Why is that? Because if you're saying that there's Allah and then there's me, that's two. And you're also putting in separation between Allah and yourself. Allah is the all and all. All and all means all, and it's in the name Allah. So if there is an identification of a me in physical form, ultimately that is Allah, as is everything that is in creation and everything that is in form. It's all Allah. It comes forth from Allah, as Allah, it's in Allah, and it is Allah. So the idea of man or woman manifesting Allah in person is something that we have to really understand and overstand, and something that we have to defend, not necessarily to anybody else but ourselves, but we have to be clear about it within ourselves, so that when others come and try and shake us off this foundational space and move us off this square and off our posts, we have a solid and foundational understanding of what is really meant and known when we say Allah in man and Allah in woman. And when we take charge of our Allah power and begin to move forward with it in our lives. Before I move forward, is there anyone that has any questions or comments about that? I mean, so everybody is clear of the Sufi concept of God and man and God and woman, and God moving forward as man and woman, because La ilaha illallah. There is nothing in existence but Allah. So if any one of us declare that we exist, that is Allah. That is the existing. Sheikh Sufi often mentions, and I think this is one of the most phenomenal points that has been made, that if you ever want to differentiate that which is Allah and that which is part of the illusion or just part of the physical world, all you have to do is look at what changes and what remains constant. Anything that goes through changes is part of the illusion. And that which is permanent, never changing, never ceasing, that is Allah. Now, Allah is that which does not move, doesn't need to move, just says a word or utter a word and existence comes into being. The doing is Allah, but at the same time, Allah doesn't have to do. Again, there's levels. At the highest level, it's just pure existence. Once the motion begins to take place in the form of manifestation and creation, that's when movement begins. And when movement begins, change begins. So that's when we begin to see things changing and evolving and growing and coming to an apex and then declining and ceasing to exist. And then that energy is transformed into something else and it continues to unfold. That's change. Allah is the energy that's moving through that change. Allah is the force that initiated that change. But Allah remains unchanged in that original high state that Allah exists in. Very important concept. And that's what Sheikh Sufi was relaying to us when he talks about where there's change, anything that changes, like the day. It's sunny, then it's dark, then the next day it may be raining. That's change. That's constant change. The moon going around through the different zodiac signs, and the years going by. All of this has changed. It's all a part of this physical world, which is a world of change. But everything that exists in the physical world of manifestation first had its origin in the spiritual world or the higher planes. And then it changed into this physical world. The other great example that Sheikh Sufi gives us is the example of ice, water, steam. It's all the same element, which is liquid. In the water stage, it's liquid, it's flowing, it's moving. Once it becomes solidified, it becomes ice. And the physical world, the manifested world, is most relatable to the ice because that's when it's most concentrated. That's when it's most dense in physical form. And what we'll learn is once this energy solidifies in physical form, then the physical becomes the focus and the spiritual goes on the back burner. So our process on this Murid path is flipping the script and going back from the ice to get to the place where we become a flowing stream, then get to the place where that water is drawn up into the higher regions in the form of mist or steam. And then we get to the state where we're at the throne or the kursi of Allah. That's the Murid path in scientific terms. But in manifestation and in change that exists, we understand that all of this emanates from the one true source that is called Allah, through Al-Khaliq, the creator, and through Al-Zahir, which is the evident and the manifest. The Quran in the 7th surah, the 54th verse, tells us that Allah created the heavens and the earth in 6 days or 6 periods of time. So creation and manifestation is a process. Allah says be, and it is, but the is, it can take a little bit of time to materialize. Keep that in mind when we're doing our practices. Our practice is the B stage. We're putting it forth in word. The is could take a little while to materialize in this physical existence, but it must if we are persistent in our focus, our concentration, and our practice on what it is that we've been given. Our purity of thought and purity of intention and working towards the realization of what we put forth is certainly what helps to bring it into manifestation and Wo-Manifistation, because that's where it is created. Al-Musawwir, the creator, the fashioner. In fact, Al-Musawwir is the creative fashioner. So there's creativity involved in that. Again, we're talking about Allah in Wo-Manifistation, and creativity, of course, is a feminine attribute. So as we talk about creation and manifestation, we go back to the East Indian perspective of creation, which is very unique. They have a concept of the golden cosmic egg. And in that concept, they talk about how all things in the universe and the universe itself originated as a cosmic golden egg. And from that cosmic golden egg, everything that we see in the universe and all around us emerged from that place. In ancient Kemet or Egypt, there's a creation story, and it talks about the Bin stone or the mound, the Bin mound that emerged out of the waters or out of the sea. And from this emergence, everything that we see now, as far as land is concerned, came forth. We're taught in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the land is 196,940,000 square miles. And then there's 139,685,000 square miles of water. And out of that 57,255,000 square miles of land emerges out of that water. Is my mathematics correct, Sheikh Farad? I know you would know. Or anybody else on the line? But the point is that this land that emerges out of this water and encompass a certain area is described in the ancient Egyptian or Kemetic system, talking about the Bin stone or the Bin pyramid or the Bin mound, whichever name they want to put on it. This is a science describing the process of emerging, coming into being, coming out of something. This is the creative process that we are moving into. It's important because we're talking about Allah in Wo-Manifistation. The woman represents this creative force and this creative process. It is through the womb that everything here in existence, as far as male and female, has emerged. Now, we may have some test tube babies on the line, I kind of doubt it, but most of us that are here have come here as a result of emerging from the womb of a woman, of our mother. That is Allah in Wo-Manifistation or womb manifestation, coming into being through the womb, the void, the triple blackness of space of creation. This is how we all arrive here. And this is very important because this womb or this womb manifestation that is required right now has to come to the forefront in order for us to really move forward and to begin to realize what is the next stage of our development and movement as we begin to work towards this process of realization of Allah within ourselves. Womb manifestation and womb manifestation. We've all heard the terms coming from our great teachers of the past. When you teach a woman, you teach a nation. When you teach a man, you teach an individual. No nation can rise higher than its woman. What is this all talking about? It's talking about us beginning to look at the place and the state that the woman has been put in, because this is what is affecting our manifestation and what we are able to receive as a result of the work that we do. The missing element many times is understanding and rolling with that feminine concept. There is a male and female part to each of us. We all have a feminine and a masculine inside of each of us. A womb inside of each of us, the womb of our minds, is considered a womb. The darkness within us is considered the womb. But that doesn't override or replace the fact of what the woman represents in terms of birthing manifestation into being. All of our sciences talk about how the universe is referred to as she. We all talk about how the earth even is referred to as she. So as we mentioned with Al Musawir, the creative fashioner, anything that has to deal with creation and fashioning and darkness and womb and bringing into existence, because everything comes into existence out of the womb and out of the void, that is speaking to the feminine. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said Allah created himself out of the feminine aspect of the universe, speaking to that triple darkness or triple blackness of space. This is important as we move forward in our understanding, talking about Wo-Manifistation, because what we're looking at in our lives right now, we have to begin to take ownership of what's happening in our lives. When Allah created the universe and when Allah came into existence through the manifestation of the physical world and breathed into these vessels, and that actual breath was the infusing of Allah in clay or dirt or mud or earth, and that represents Allah in form, which is why the man and the woman is given the highest place in creation. When that happened, Allah obviously is the source and the essence and claim ownership of all that is in creation. We as human beings, when we look at what's taking place around us, as well as what's taking place within us, though we don't realize it, we are the ones that have created the situations and the scenarios that we find ourselves in by the way that we think, by the things that we do, and by the things that we do not do. So taking accountability and being responsible and taking ownership for being the God of our creation is another level that we have to rise to in understanding so that we can correct the defects. Wherever there are defects and wherever there is misalignment and wherever there is shortcoming, we must now produce the remedy for that. We can pray to Allah, but Allah in turn will say back to us, all that you need has already been given to you to make that correction. We have the thickers, we have the names of Allah, we have the different practices and the weirds, we have the sides, we have prayers, and we can pinpoint and fine tune them to whatever malady or difficulty that we find ourselves challenged with. There is a remedy for it in what has been given to us. So now if we're saying and knowing that we are Allah in form, we now have to be responsible and move into that knowing and begin to correct what we see going on around us. In terms of what we were taught in the nation, that's called taking charge of our post and all temple property that is in view. We are the temple, and our post is where we are placed at any given moment and everything that is going on around us. So that's our responsibility to begin to take ownership of what has been manifested by us and through us. This is the place where the proper use, understanding, and application of the kasides and the thickers and the weirds began to move us to a whole nother place. So in this Wo-Manifistation, understanding that we have in times past and even up to present had a disregard for the woman and the place of the woman in our history and in our society. These are things that cannot be glossed over and overlooked because it is essential if we're going to move forward. To have societies where women children were actually killed because they weren't a man-child is something that we have to look at. To have societies where the woman-child was looked at as less than because it wasn't a man-child, and a man-child is what the value was. To look at holy books and scriptures where it's really hard to find women who are actually doing and executing and moving in their divinity because there is a dominance on the concept of men. And let me add, the reason that is the case is because a lot of these scriptures where the writings were about women and of women and what women were doing were taking out of those scriptures. I say again, many of the reasons why we don't see the power of women in scripture is because a lot of those scriptures were taken out of the scripture that we have today. Many of them were burned. Many of them were put away and put underground. I'm telling you what I know, not what somebody told me. This is why when we take the responsibility and owning up to our God self, we have to begin to correct, even within our own sphere, this understanding of and knowing of what has taken place, and then begin to correct that in the now time, so that as we move forward, these things are made clear and we can move forward in balance, which is what Allah represents, a balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. It is a balance of both. But in the predominance of one, the other has been completely overlooked. So now the pendulum has to shift a little bit more so that we can be more inclusive and more understanding and move in the knowing of Wo-Manifistation. In addition to the woman as a physical person being dismissed, the feminine have an understanding that exists within us as male has also been dismissed. Now, let me take a pause right here. I'm not talking about this concept of homosexuality and LGBT and all of these letters and all of that. That's nowhere near where I'm going. Where I'm going is that we have reached the point where we don't honor and we don't move with what is considered to be feminine attributes and properties, like intuition, like gut feeling, like moving in accordance with the time and the seasons, which is the way nature or the netters are designed. All of this forces us to look at these qualities that have been latent in us and are screaming to come forward now because there's information and wisdom contained in those parts of ourselves that have to come forward. And if we don't do it now, then we actually risk the possibility of not having it done and having to repeat lessons that we can resolve right now. So in Wo-Manifistation, we must begin to incorporate these attributes, these talents, this side of our wisdom that we have dismissed for so many years. Does anybody have any comments or questions about that? I know that was a lot and I'm getting long-winded and I don't need to talk too much because it's so many wisdom bearers right here among us. But I want to try and be as clear as possible. And I also want to open up for comments so that everyone else can bring forth the wisdom and the Wo-Manifestations. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Anna.
How you doing, Cheikh? I had a quick Walaikum salam, Cheikh. I had a quick question about the difference between the dunya, the illusion, right, of the physical world, and Allah. So you mentioned that Allah is in all things, but anything that changes, and stop me if I'm wrong at any point here, anything that changes is the illusion, right? But if Allah is in all things, how are these, because everything around us changes in the physical world, the seasons and the,
Right.
the decay, right? So how is it, if Allah is all, how is he, it seems like more like a dual thing rather than non-dual thinking, which I know Sufism is related to. So if you can just break that down a little bit more, because I'm having a hard time grasping that one.
One of the ways that you can think about it is energy. And coming into creation, I want you to think of the force of Allah as energy. Energy is neither created nor is it destroyed. It simply changes form. So when we're looking at it from the form changing, that's the energy taking different shapes. The shapes and the forms are what we're referring to as the illusion. The energy itself that is moving through and morphing through and creating different things as it take different shapes and then it is destroyed and then it becomes something else. That part is the illusion. What we're pointing the attention to is sometimes we get stuck on the form and thinking that that particular form is the reality. That's the illusion. And so when we say La ilaha illallah, Allah is the only reality, the reality can be referred to as the energy that is actually moving through and creating and morphing into different forms that we look at. But what we're seeing is actually an illusion of the energy moving and taking different forms. But when you remove all of those forms, you go back to the actual energy itself. And that's what we're describing in physical existence as what is the real. The energy would be the real. The energy would be the representation of the source. Does that make better sense?
It does, actually. Thank you so much for clearing that up. I really appreciate it, Cheikh.
Alhamdulillah. Sheikh Farad has a hand. Thank you
Yes.
for that question, sister.
So
Thank you,
Bismillah,
sir.
so Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh and family. So I wanted to add on to the cipher if possible, to add to your answer to beloved sister's question. So a simple expression of the source and the manifestation would be like the potter and the clay. So the intelligence, is the potter forming the clay into the various things so that we could have interactive reality, so that could even be like the appearance of a conversation between you and I now. But the you and I part is just a play. That's the way that the Hindus describe it in this manner. That is the Maya or the delusion, the myriad of forms, but the potter is the thing that's real, that's formulated. And so that would be, like you were saying, Sheikh, the manifestation of the attribute El Khalif, the creator, or there's one El Musawir, the fashion. So what is fashioned wouldn't be looked at as real, but the fashioner is real. So that's the first part. The second part was when you said, sister, that Allah is in everything. I think that there's a great distinction, and you find this very, very deep rooted in African spirituality, that in everything and Allah is everything is two different things. Because of course, we know that even like with our prayers and when we're doing formulas and so forth, the niyyah is what is going to aim your zikr at its destination. So that would be like you in your niyyah, you in your prayer, you in whatever you formulating. But that doesn't mean that the thing that you're formulating is you. So this is where when the European came into our spirituality, they were mistaking us as worshiping the things that we were depicting, worshiping animals, because we said, well, the intelligence is in the animals. And so when we see this particular animal, it's representing this particular attribute of God. So they mistake that as us saying that animal was God. But that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that Allah, of course, is in everything that he creates, but he isn't his creation. He's in his creation and is the source of it. And so when we're going into man and woman being Allah, that's really the deepest way to understand that. And if we can root our identity in that divine intelligence, it will really end all kind of problems and all kind of things, because we wouldn't see separations and things anymore. We would see, okay, this is me. It will literally put you almost at cause of creation if you could see it like that. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. I'm just writing everything that you're saying down right now. I'm gonna definitely reflect on it a little bit more. But yeah, it makes a lot more sense.
So saying that Allah is in everything doesn't mean Allah is everything. He, of course, you're in the dish that you made because that's your energy. But are we eating you? Are we cannibals if we eat the soup that you made? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what would stop us from falling into idolatry or worshiping that which is other than Allah. Because really, as Sheikh Idris just said, it's really shirk to worship when you really understand man. And when we say man, we mean woman. When you really understand what man and woman and who HU, man and woman is, you really would understand that worshiping anything outside of that is really shirk. That means material reality, because all of it was created from a source. So we can't worship the clay, we can only worship the potter.
Okay.
So alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister.
Well stated indeed. Well stated indeed. It brings to mind the concept also that the physical world is the spiritual world slowed down, which means it's the same energy. It's just slowed down to the point where it actually solidified to what we're looking at. But once we speed up, which they call going to another dimension or going to the next dimension, that just means that we speed up and we actually get to see things differently until we get to the point where all of these forms that we're seeing are in their actual true state and true essence of just pure being and pure existence, are pure light, pure nur. So it's the same energy, it's just shaped different with us being at this level and in this physical world.
Beloved, when you were talking about the all in all, it's interesting because it was in a form, I think it was in another lecture you and I did. We talked about this a little bit, the that's on the end of Allah, that you see in a lot of ancient texts. The literally means primordial energy or primordial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
This is another way we could say Allah is in everything because he's of the intelligence. The is in the plant, is in the mineral world, is in the animal world. But these things are like pieces of because a tree isn't an animal, isn't a stone. The stone isn't a tree, isn't an animal. The animal isn't a tree and a stone. But there's only one place that all of the all Allah, all of the shows up at one time, only in one place, and that's in the human being. Because we are stone, we are water, we are wind, we are animal, we are all of it at one time.
Right.
Nothing in creation can say that but man and woman. So that's another way that, another kind of a spin that we can put on that context, inshallah.
I mean.
Thank you so much, Cheikh. That was really, that clarified things a lot.
Thank you. Anybody else has a comment or a thought or a question? Everybody quiet tonight. If not, then we'll continue to move forward, talking about this manifestation, Wo-Manifistation. One of the things that I want to begin to look at in talking about bringing things into existence is with respect to each one of us, and in particular focus on manifestation and Wo-Manifistation. What is it that we really want to bring into existence? And I want you to really sit down and ask yourself this, because this is a very, very, very important question for you. And it's a very, very important question for the Darrah. Asking you what it is that you want to see brought into manifestation on an individual level, and what it is that you want to see brought into manifestation with our Darrah. In order for this to happen, it's gonna take some practices, some focus, and some unity with those of us who are in line with you and committed to the realization of your goals and our goals collectively. A village concept. Again, Wo-Manifistation. Talking about a village and bringing a family together, that's also part of the divine feminine aspect, which we have to get back forward to in this time, establishing and fortifying that concept of building the village, building the Darrah. And part of building the Darrah is building up one another in the Darrah, so that each of us are strong enough to bring together other pieces so that all of us together can be strong and bring into manifestation and Wo-Manifistation the things that are required in our life now. We can look at it as on a personal level and say, well, I want to manifest a vehicle, or I want to manifest a nice place to live. or I want to manifest some nice drip. I need some more clothes. I want to manifest, you know, a job. Whatever it is that we want to manifest, we look at that and then we take a deeper look. Why is it that I want to manifest this? What is it that I want to get out of this manifestation? Why is it important to have the car, the house, the job, et cetera, et cetera? Then we go to another level. When we look at the creation of Adam, Adam was and is the one who was in charge of everything on the earth by Allah's permission. Everything was under Adam and Adam's rulership. So when we look at what's taking place in our environment, if there's going to be a change in that, it's up to us to be the change. Now, when I say that, I always got to do some clarification. I'm not talking about boycotting and getting into a political rally and or even taking up arms and going up against, you know, some beast somewhere. That's more external, and it's actually counterproductive to what we're producing. What I'm talking about with respect to this concept is having a space that we establish ourselves and having that space be the embodiment and the example of what we want to see around us in our world. This is what Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba did. And I'm going to keep coming back to this because this is now our work in this day. Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba established a city called Tuba. But it's actually deeper than that. He had a vision of a place, a state of being, and a level of mastery that should exist in one concentrated area. And he went about to actually bring that into physical Wo-Manifistation by actually building and creating and having that place established. So now here we are, many years later, can actually go there and see the manifestation of what was actually created from a thought, a vision, and then a blueprint, and then an utterance, and then action that took place. The steps and the process of Wo-Manifistation. When we talk about here in the West, our example here in the West, one of our greatest examples is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He had to establish a system, a understanding of nationhood, so that we can begin to build that into existence from the state of mind and the place that we found ourselves in. Here we are in 2023, and we're calling ourselves and knowing that we're moving in the power, the energy, and the Wo-Manifistation of the divine. And what we see going on around us, in many instances, is not the most pleasant things. When our children are being snatched and we are never learning what happened to them, when body parts and sex trafficking and all of that is going on and nothing, literally nothing is being said about it, and so many organizations and entities are involved in it, and we have no response whatsoever. When we're sending our children to these schools And we know they ain't learning nothing. Let's just be real. What they are learning is not something that could actually be utilized to actually build the masters and the mastery that is required in this time. And we have no real response to that. Point is, when we're talking about bringing things into existence and taking charge and taking ownership of what is taking place on the real in our environment and right around us. And we're talking about what it is that we want to bring into existence and to will manifest. One of the things is and has to be exactly what Sheikh Sufi has been talking about, exactly what Sheikh Ahmad Dubamba established, which is a place where we can have and begin to grow and build as a Darrah, as masters, as individuals that are seeking to live a certain way, do a certain work, and bring out the best talents within us. That is essential right now if we're looking at manifestation. Because without land, then we don't have a basis for the building of community and nation and Darrah. It must begin with the establishment of something here in this physical world. So as we're thinking about manifestation and bringing into being and what it is that we want to see individually, it's also important to look at what's required for us in terms of the building of a Darrah and the building of a place for our children and those that come after us, and building a place where the knowledge and the wisdom and what we've learned in times past is actually put forth and presented so that people can take advantage of it now. This is what we're looking at in terms of building and growing and will manifesting in this time. And on that thought, I want to read something that Sheikh Sufi put forth in one of the classes that I took notes on. And you'll see how it ties into what we just said. The practice of Islam will give you peace. When peace comes, you will have light or nur. The higher will not manifest until the state of peace is established. When the light ignites in you, you will have a higher love manifested in patience and compassion. From this, everything will come to you. Then he said, leave the big cities and get and establish some farmland. Very, very, very important. The concept of establishing peace, that's Islam. So in order for us to really grow and manifest and build, the first thing we have to do is establish an environment of peace, a place where we can go to and be surrounded by peace and people who are moving in a line with what it is that we're growing into the realization of, is a good way to put it. So when we talk about Tuba Macon and Tuba DC and Tuba Philadelphia and so many other tubas yet to come into being, this is what we're talking about establishing and bringing into being. And from this place, we'll be able to feed ourselves. The other comment that Sheikh made, which is very, very important, talking about feeding ourselves is you can't eat the food of the devil and remain in a godly mindset. If we're getting our nutrition and our energy from the beast, how is it that we are manifesting Allah in physical form? It's imperative for us to have a place where our own food is grown. It's imperative for us to have a place where we can establish peace. It's imperative to have a place where we can educate our own. These are essentials in the way of woe manifesting right now. We have the tools to do it. We have the kasides to do it. We have the chance to do it. We just have to put the focus and the concentration and the consistency on doing it, and then take responsibility for the fact that it has not been done yet. We have to take ownership and responsibility for that. That's understanding our role as Adam. That's understanding divine accountability. Now, even though Adam fell, according to scriptures, he was never removed from his post. His post remains. So whatever we see that is out of place, we still have the divine authority and responsibility to put it in place. And those of us who were at least part of the Nation of Islam understand that concept well. Understand the concept of eliminating disorder and not allowing disorder around us. We've gotten a bit comfortable with disorder and comfortable with poor and unformed and underdeveloped creations. We've gotten comfortable with the lack of not manifesting the best and not manifesting at all in some instances, those things that can help us to produce the life that we are destined to live. So with that, my encouragement is to take some time and really look at those things that you would like to see come into being for yourself, and also look at those things that really must come into being with respect to us collectively. Because no man is an island, and what you want for yourself, you should also want for your brother and your sister. And if we're working together and moving together, then we have to work and move together collectively as a unit to bring into manifestation and wo-manifistation these things individually as well as collectively. We can help sharpen one another when we see one another slipping, or if the progress isn't coming fast enough, then we can dig in a little bit and find out how we can improve and what we can improve to make things move along a little bit more swifter, particularly in this time. And this is coming for a reason. We're in a season right now where there is quite a bit of suffering taking place. And some of us can act like we don't see it, or give a blind eye to it. But reality of the situation in the dunya is real. It's very real. So we have to look at ourselves, and we have to look at how we're using what we've been given and how we can do better in terms of bringing into existence. And lastly, as we're talking about wo-manifistation, the woman is a great place to look in terms of bringing these things into being, because this is the way that Allah established creation at the beginning, is through this feminine concept and the divine feminine through creation. So if the woman is suppressed and not coming forth and showing forth gift, talents, and ability, we too have to take divine accountability of that and begin to restore order there and restore that order in ourselves so that our results will be different and better for all that is involved. And all of us will benefit, all of us will reap, and all of us will be successful as Allah intended. Does anybody have any final words, thoughts, questions, or comments? Don't get quiet on me now.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
This is Brother Noor. I say alhamdulillah. Thank you for that. Shukran. That was a beautiful demonstration that you just expounded on, that we need to part of us, we represent the light. We represent the light of Allah, the light of God for real. And the suffering is the darkness. We're supposed to bring order out of chaos. So we got the light knowledge. We know how to do that. And we talk about in the Quran that he said, I will put a vicegerent on the earth. Us as people who trying to represent the light, ultimately the purpose of it is to serve humanity and advance us as a people back to who we was before the so-called fall, or just to perfect ourselves. So we represent that for our people, what we went through here in America and over the world. But we not only the custodians of the ancient Egyptian mysteries or any of those other esoteric mystical sciences, we was the creators.
Yes.
And it's a great time. It's a great time to do it, because the reality is, I was having this conversation earlier with somebody, and it was great to hear you say it. It's great to hear you talk about it, because that's exactly where my heart is at. So peace.
I mean, it's just nothing left but to bring it into being. And that's where this reminder come from. It's not me just trying to remind you all. This is a reminder for me as well, because all of us got to move with this thing, and all of us got to move better, because we've gotten kind of slack and kind of got kind of comfortable in the dunya. We got kind of used to the routine and the regiment, and we've forgotten what our real mission is that will help us to be successful even in what we're doing in the dunya, as well as the establishment of our kingdom on earth for those that come after us, as well as for our Darrah at large. So thanks a lot for that, great one. Anyone else? No comments from the sisters? Wow. I don't think my mic working.
Your mic is working just fine, Cheikh. So you mentioned, I'm going through my notes here, establishing, because I just got here. I was just telling, I just got here like a week ago, right? I just took Bayat in order a week ago, but I've been kind of watching Sheikh Sufi for about a month and a half. So how close would you say we are at getting farmland, and because I really like the idea of like self-sufficiency, solar panels. Like I can build solar panels, for instance.
What?
Yeah, like wait, like not the big ones, but like the portable ones. Although it's very easy to make the big ones, you can find like DIY videos on YouTube. But you know, the ones for your phone and things like that, which is still valuable. But how close are we to that? Because I remember watching one of his videos, he said he wanted to get a school, right? A place where we can go on retreats and things like that. I'm not sure how close we are to that. And I just wanted you to kind of speak to that because we need it. You're right.
Yes, that is more of a Sheikh Sufi question,
Okay.
but I will go from what I've seen, and that is that we're moving in that direction right now in terms of looking to establish land, not just in one place, but in several places. One of the places that have come up, of course, is Macon. Of course, there's a building in Philadelphia. It's not where it would be like farmland and that type of thing. We're looking at pulling funds together to actually be in a position to purchase land and then be able to work that land and build what we need to build on that land, be it a school as well as a dwelling place for us to have here in the West, because that's essential. That's part of our responsibility. So how close are we to that? What I can say is that's definitely a goal that we're moving towards. And we're definitely going to be in touch with you if you're talking about solar panels, because
Well, I mean,
that's an important component where even if you're off grid, you can still utilize solar energy.
absolutely.
So that's a key part to it. But yes, I know you're just coming in, and the idea obviously is not to overwhelm anybody or try and get them doing something immediately, but just to let you know what the idea is. And actually, it's beyond an idea at this stage of the game. But we really want to begin to move into the manifestation, the bringing forth of these things now. Because Sheikh Sufi has mentioned it for a while now. And that's where it becomes our divine responsibility to move on what we know needs to be the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks so much for bringing that forth in terms of what assistance can be offered.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help. You know, whatever I can offer, whatever I can give. I don't really have the green thumb for the farmland, unfortunately. I'll have to call my sister in, but she has an entire farm in her backyard. So you know, there's a lot of resources out here, and I trust, you know, we'll get things done, and I look forward to it. You know, having a somewhere in the wilderness in North America that we can go for reprieve and for growing more beings of light, if that makes sense.
I mean, the other thing to look forward to, myself and more so Sheikh Yazid, because he is a business master, was talking about, and we actually did this in the past, but we're going to redo it, where we actually get and find out which talents, gifts, and abilities exist in the Darrah. Like you just mentioned, the ability to build solar panels. We want to begin to get all of that information. So as we move forward, we know who to contact and what each person can offer, so that we don't have to go outside of our circle to get things done when we already have talent in-house that can actually bring that forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what we're looking to do also. So be on the lookout for that.
Okay, sure. And you know, like I said, I'm here. I told Sheikh, I was like, you know, I want to be a Shaker in a few years. So we'll see that, Allah willing, that comes to be. But I'm gonna just keep working on my weirds and prayers for now.
Staying in the process. Just staying in the process. Most important thing. I mean, thank you, sister.
Thank you.
Anyone else? With a comment, thought, or question? Or a yay man? if there are no more questions or comments, definitely be sure to check into the group chat this weekend because there's going to be events going on. Sheikh Sufi, of course, is in DC, so they're going to have a number of things happening, and some of those may be popping up on Zoom if we're lucky. And since we are not there physically in person, at least we may be able to tune into some of the events that are taking place in DC. And we certainly send our love and protection on Sheikh in DC and on the DC crew and the DC Darrah that's working to make that event so successful. And we know that it already is. With that being said, with no other questions or comments, we'll close with Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdina sirata mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim, waladdallin. Ameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin biyadadi and fasil malukuti. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin biyadadi ashara majudati. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin biyadadi hurufi lohi wadawati. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin biyadadi ubadayati wanihati. Mila madumi wa majudi Allah badurapadi. Wa sallallahu ala kairul kalkihi Muhammad wa alihi ajma'in. Oh Allah, send your protection upon this Darrah. Send your protection upon our Sheikh. Send your protection upon all who are listening and all of their families. Send barakas upon Sheikh Moundbuilder, Sheikh Rafal, Serene Follow, Serene Salihu, all of the Sheikhs of our Murid order. Help us to be successful, most successful in this time, and help us to navigate these challenging times with the grace, the peace, the patience, and the compassion that is required for each one of us. Help us to live up to who we truly are and to be the best representatives of thy light, thy will, and thy way. Use our bodies as an outpost of thy power, thy protection, and thy example. Bake Sheikh Rafal, Bake Sheikh Moundbuilder Kadim Rasul, Bake Serene Follow, Bake Serene Salihu, Bake Sheikh Sufi Bar, Bake Sheikh Sufi Bar, Bake Sheikh Sufi Bar. Assalamu alaikum to each and every one of you. And thank you so much for listening. May Allah bless you with success and bless you to continue to move forward on this path in the very best way. Well, certainly we have the best example here in the West to follow. And I know if we continue to do that, we can only be successful in this time as well as in the hereafter. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam, fam.